Hello everyone. Let us continue with the relational model. In the previous video, we already discussed about the various relational model concepts. Now, in this video, let us look into the relational model constraints. Before detailing about the relational model, let me remind you once again about the definition of the data model. What is a data model? A data model is nothing but a collection of tools used for describing the data, the relationships between the data semantics, and the consistency constraints to be applied on the data. Right. So we already discussed about the ER model in the last module, right? In the ER model, we are describing the data as entities. Okay, fine. In the relational model, the database is represented as a collection of relations. A relation is nothing but a table of values. This table consists of, as you know, it consists of rows and columns, right? So every row in the table represents a relationship among a set of values. Okay, every row in the table represents the relationship among the set of values. This relational model was proposed by Dr. Ted Code in 1970. Okay, now let us look into some common terms that we are using in this relational model. The first one is relation. Relation is a table with rows and columns. Okay, the column in a relation can be called as attribute, and the number of attributes in a table can be called as degree or arity. Okay, the column in a relation can be called as attribute, and the number of columns in the table can be called as degree of the table. Okay, so if the table consists of 4 columns, the degree of the table is 4. Okay, fine. Tuple, the next term is tuple. A row in a relation can be called as a tuple. Tuples are the rows in the relation. Can also be called as records. So the number of tuples or rows in a relation at a particular instance can be called as cardinality. Cardinality is nothing but the number of rows in a relation at a particular time. How many rows are there in a relation? That represents the cardinality. If you're having 10 rows in the relation in the table, then the cardinality is 10. Okay, so the degree is nothing but the number of attributes in the table. Cardinality is nothing but the number of tuples, number of rows in the table. And the next term is domain. Domain represents the set of permitted values that an attribute can have. For example, the salary attribute. The salary attribute can have the values between this 50,000 and 90,000. So the set of possible values that an attribute can have, the values that comes under the field salary can be called as its domain. Okay, so the domain is the set of possible values that an attribute can have. Okay, so these are the common terms. The relation is nothing but the table with rows and columns. The row can be called as a tuple and the column can be called as an attribute. The number of tuples at a time can be called as cardinality. The number of attributes in a table can be called as degree. Okay, fine. And the domain is the set of possible values that an attribute can have. This attribute, the values should be atomic also. That means it should not have a divisible units. It should have indivisible units. The domain, the values in the domain should be atomic. Okay. Now let us discuss about the various properties of relations. The first one is every relation in a database should have a unique name. Second one is every tuple should be distinct. That is, no two rows should have same values for all the attributes. No two rows should be same. Third one is every attribute should have a distinct name. That is, no two columns should have same column name. Fourth one is the values of an attribute are all from the same domain. For example, if the attribute is name, it should contain only the names only. The domain of the attribute name consists of only the possible names, permitted names. Then the fifth point is each cell of the relation contains exactly one atomic value. As we said, the domain should consist of only atomic values. It should not consist of any divisible units. And the last point is the order of attributes and tuples has no significance. So these tuples can be in any order. It should not be in any sorted order. The attributes can also be in any order. It doesn't matter. The order of the attributes or tuples is not having any significance in the relations.
Now let us look into the database schema. This database schema represents the overall design of the database. So database schema is the logical design of the database. Okay, fine. Database instance is the snapshot of the data in the database at a particular instance. At a particular instance of time, the snapshot of the data in the database, the picture of the data in the database, that can be called as database instance. Then the term relation schema. The relation schema, as you know, it represents the design, right? So relation schema represents the design or the structure of the relation, the structure of the table. So the table consists of list of attributes, right? So the relation schema consists of a list of attributes and their corresponding domains. For example, the relation department with the attributes can be represented as department in bracket, the list of attributes, department name, building, budget. So that's the relation schema. So it represents the list of attributes along with the relation name. Then relation instance. It refers to the specific instance of a relation. That means at a particular time, what all are the set of rows in the relation. So that is the relation instance. At a particular time, the set of tuples in the relation. As you know, this table always gets updated. More and more rows will be added out, right? So at a particular time, how many rows will be there in a particular relation? That can be called as the relation instance. The relation instance may change with time as the relation is updated. But in contrast, the relation schema does not generally change until we are applying any alter command. It remains the same. The structure remains the same. The schema does not generally change.
Now let us look into the term keys, the various types of keys that we are using in the relational model. Okay. No two tuples in a relation are allowed to have exactly the same value for all the attributes. That is, every relation has at least one attribute for which each row must have a unique value. Such an attribute can be termed as a key. So by means of a key, we can uniquely identify a row in the relation. Okay. Now let us move to the different types of keys. First, let us look into the super key. A super key is a set of one or more attributes that taken collectively, and it allows us to identify uniquely a tuple in the relation. For example, the roll number of a student relation or the ID attribute of the relation instructor. These are enough to distinguish one tuple from another in their respective relations, right? So these attributes can be the super key of that particular relations. Whereas the name attribute of an instructor or a student cannot be taken as a super key. Why? Because several instructors or students might have the same name. So the attribute that is selected as a super key should allow us to uniquely identify a tuple in the relation. A super key may contain extraneous attributes. For example, the combination of ID and name is a super key for the relation instructor. So that is, the ID comma name is also a super key of the instructor. The minimal super keys are called candidate keys. Super key K is a candidate key if K is minimal. For example, if you are taking that ID alone, it is a candidate key for the instructor. So we can, in the case of super key, it may contain some extra attributes. Okay. So we are taking the combination ID and name as a super key of instructor. But with the help of this ID itself, we can uniquely identify a particular row in the relation. So this minimal super keys can be termed as a candidate keys, right? The term primary key is used to denote a candidate key that is chosen by the database designer and is selected to identify the tuples uniquely within a relation. In some cases, we'll be having many candidate keys. So among the candidate keys, one of them will be chosen by the database designer
and it is termed as primary key. Okay, so with the help of this primary key, we can identify the tuples uniquely within a relation. So among the candidate keys, one of the candidate key is denoted as or termed as primary key by the database designer. Okay, so a super key may contain some extraneous attributes. The extra attribute, after removing the extra attributes, we'll be getting we will be getting the minimal super keys. That minimal super keys can be called as candidate key, and among the candidate keys, one of them will be selected by the database designer and is termed as primary key. Okay. Okay, what is a foreign key now? A relation, say R1, may include among its attributes the primary key of another relation, say R2. And this attribute is called as the foreign key from R1, which refers the R2. That is, in the relation R1, among the set of attributes, one of the attribute is the primary key of R2. Okay, one of the attribute is the primary key of another relation called R2. So this attribute can be called as foreign key in R1, which is the primary key of R2. So this foreign key from R1 is actually referencing R2. So this R1 can be called as the referencing relation and the R2 can be called as referenced relation. Okay, so in a relation R1, among the set of the attributes, one of the attribute is the primary key of another attribute, another table. Okay, so this attribute can be called as the foreign key. For example, the attribute department name, which is the primary key of the table department. And this attribute department name in instructor is a foreign key from instructor, which refers the department. Okay, so the referencing relation is instructor and the referenced relation is department. Okay, so in the instructor, among the set of attributes, one of the attribute is department name, which is the primary key of another relation called as department. Okay, so in the instructor, this department name is the foreign key, and in the department, this department name is acting as the primary key. That is the case of foreign keys. So these are some examples which gives the syntax of how to specify this primary key and foreign key in the SQL Server. Here the department consists of the department name as the primary key. The course consists of the course ID as the primary key and the department name as the foreign key, which refers to the table department. Similarly, the instructor consists of the primary key as ID and the foreign key has department name, which references the department has the reference relation. And the table section, it consists of composite attributes as the primary key. That means it consists of a set of attributes are taken as the primary key: course ID, section ID, semester, year. All of these attributes together are taken as the primary key. And the foreign key is the course ID, which and it references the course. So in the course, this course ID is the primary key. And the table teachers consists of a primary key and two foreign keys. The primary key is a composite key which consists of composite attributes, which consists of set of attributes: ID, course ID, section ID, semester, and year. And the foreign key, course ID, section ID, semester, and year references the table section, and the ID references the table instructor. So we are having we can define more than one foreign keys in a table. Okay, so we should specify the referenced relation. That's a point that we have to keep in mind. Now let us discuss about the two terms, the data dictionary and the system catalog. The data dictionary provides a detailed accounting of all the tables within the user created databases. That is, it contains all the attribute names, the characteristics for each table, etc. That is, it contains the data about the data, that is, it contains metadata. So it is also called as the database designer's database because it records the design decisions about tables and the structures. So in short, the data dictionary contains the details about the data, that is, it contains metadata. Similar to the data dictionary, the system catalog also contains metadata. But this system catalog can be described as a detailed system data dictionary because it describes all the objects within the database, including the data about the table names, the table creator, the date of creation, the number of attributes, the data type of each attribute, the index file names, index creators, authorized users, access privileges, etc. So it is the detailed information. It is a detailed system data dictionary. So it contains all the required data dictionary information. So the current RDBMS generally provides only a system catalog from which the designer's data dictionary can be derived. Okay, now let us look into the relational query language. A query language is a language in which a user requests information from the database. So by means of this query language, the user can request to get the information from the database. So these informations or these query languages can be classified into two. It can be either procedural or non-procedural. In a non-procedural language, the user describes the desired information without specifying the procedure for obtaining that information. Whereas in the procedural language, the user interacts with the system to perform a sequence of operations on the database for computing the desired result. That is, how to get the result will be specified. The operations to perform on the database for computing the desired result will be specified in this procedural language, whereas in the non-procedural language, the user describes only the desired information without giving the procedure for obtaining that information. The query languages used in practice include the elements of both the procedural as well as the non-procedural approaches. The relational algebra is an example for the procedural language, whereas the tuple relational calculus and domain relational calculus are non-procedural languages. The relational algebra consists of a set of operations that take one or two relations as the inputs and produces a new relation itself as the result. The tuple relational calculus and domain relational calculus uses predicate logic for defining the result desired without giving any specific algebraic procedure for obtaining the result. And that's why it is a non-procedural language. It specifies only the desired result without specifying the procedure for computing the result. Okay, what is a schema diagram? A database schema, along with the primary key and foreign key dependencies, can be diagrammatically depicted with the help of a schema diagram. Okay, many database systems provide design tools with a GUI for creating these schema diagrams. So in the schema diagrams, every relation appears as a box with the relation name is at the top of the box and the attributes are listed inside the box. The primary key attributes are underlined where the foreign key dependencies appear as arrows from the foreign key attributes of the referencing relation to the primary key of the referenced relation. So by means of these arrows, these tables are linked. The foreign key dependencies are shown with the help of arrows in the schema diagram. Here we are given with the sample schema diagram for the university database, which consists of around 11 relations. These relations are represented as boxes, and the relation name will be at the top of the box, and the list of attributes will be listed inside the box. The primary key attributes are underlined, and the foreign key dependencies are shown with the help of arrows from the referencing relation to the referenced relation. So this department name, let us look into the relation student and the department. The department name, it's a foreign key. So this student is a referencing relation which references the department. So this department name is the primary key in the department and the department name is a foreign key in the student. So the referencing relation student, from the referencing relation student, there is an arrow to the referenced relation department. So this foreign key dependencies can be represented with the help of these arrows from the referencing relation to the referenced relation. This is the schema diagram of the sales database. So this database consists of 5 relations. The calendar relation consists of 4 attributes: calendar key, day, month and year. Among this attribute, calendar key is the primary key. Similarly, the store key is the primary key of store relation. Product key is the primary key of product relation, and customer key is the primary key of customer relation. And in the sales fact table, the calendar key, the product key, the store key and the customer key are the foreign keys, and they are uh, represented using the arrows from the referencing relation to the referenced relation. So from the customer key, an arrow is shown to the customer key of the customer relation. Okay, so this is a schema diagram of the sales database. This is another way of representing the schema diagram. Here we are having 5 relations. The customer relation with the attributes customer ID, name, address, contact and the credit limit. Among this, CID is the primary key and it is shown as the underlined word. Okay. Manufacturer consists of 4 attributes. Among them, MID is said to be the primary key. Product is a relation with PID as the primary key and manufacturer ID as the foreign key, which references to the MID of that's the primary key of the manufacturer relation. Okay, OID is the primary key of the order relation with customer ID is as the foreign key, which references the CID of the customer relation. And the order item, in the order item relations, the order ID and the product ID both are the foreign keys from the respective order relation and the product relation, and these two are here. The primary key is a composite primary key. Okay, actually they are foreign keys and they are composite primary keys. So the order ID and product ID together will be forming the primary key of this relation. Okay, this is another way for representing the schema diagram. So in this video, we discussed about the various relational model concepts, which includes the various terminologies used in the relational model, the database schema, the relational query language, and how to draw an schema diagram. Thank you.